Oh, this guide's gonna be fun. Let's give it a shot. Cadena is a combo class that benefits the most from rapid inputs and rhythmic timing for set inputs. They have lots of short cooldown skills, lots of mobility and positioning options, and are best suited for bossing. Once you get the hang of chain canceling their attacks, that is. When people think of combo classes in Maple, this class is usually the one at the forefront of everyone's thoughts due to how confusing their whole kit looks. Their combos aren't too frightening, thankfully. First, as always, let's go over all their skills. Let me touch briefly on the beginner tab. Here we have Haggle, which makes most items from shops 4% cheaper. It's nice up until you get a guild with a higher shop discount passive. Kinda worth noting if you're playing Cadena solo. Moving on to first job, you have a couple passives, and a flash jump which can be used twice in the air, like most other classes. It also gives you an up jump. As for attacks, you get your main chain skill, Chain Arts Thrash, which you'll be using pretty much constantly throughout everything you do. It has two parts to it. The first part's the wind-up, and the second is the actual attack that whips forward and attacks multiple enemies in front of you. Both parts do damage to enemies. Your second Chain Art skill, Pursuit, whips another chain out in front of you and can be used in the air. If you hold up or down and use this skill, it sends the chain out at a 45-degree angle. If it hits an enemy or a platform, you become stealthed and stall in the air for about half a second. Clicking it again sends you in an arc towards that chain's direction. Using any other skills while latched also breaks the stealth immediately. You also get your first weapon art at first job. Summon Scimitar simply sends you forward and deals damage to enemies it goes through, 4-second cooldown. Second job has an upgrade for Thrash, a basic attack speed buff, and a couple basic passives, but also one not so basic. Muscle Memory gives you stacks of damage whenever you swap between weapon arts attacks, which are any skills starting with the word summon. Whenever you refresh the buff, it also does a bit of damage to nearby enemies from wherever you cast a weapon arts attack, once every 0.2 seconds. Currently at second job it only builds up to however many weapon art skills you currently have, so 3 stacks since you now get these 2 new weapon arts attacks. Summon Shuriken throws a spinning blade forward that spins for 7 seconds, damaging all enemies it passes through, and exploding at the very end, or if it damages enemies 40 times. Clicking it again detonates it instantly if you just wanted it to explode, 10-second cooldown. Lastly at second, Summon Claw is a slam down skill that can only be used in the air, and it damages all enemies at its landing location, 3-second cooldown. Third job, yep, another Thrash upgrade. You also get these passives, another muscle memory upgrade, and 3 new weapon arts. Summon Daggers tosses out 2 daggers that slash up at your location, and if used while in the air, it cancels all your momentum. It also debuffs enemies with a Terrified debuff, reducing their defense by 30%, 10-second cooldown. Summon Shotgun simply sends you flying backwards. The closer enemies are to it, the more damage it does, 5-second cooldown. And finally, Summon Decoy Bomb is another attack that sends you flying backwards, but this time a little bit higher. It throws out 4 bombs below you, and they explode shortly after. If used while in the air, you don't fly back at all, and instead just throw the bombs down beneath you and land on top of them, 8-second cooldown. Fourth job gives Cadena their final upgrades to Thrash and Muscle Memory, which now gives a shield every time the skill refreshes from switching between weapons. You also get all these passives, Maple Warrior and Hero's Will, and some new attacks. First, the weapon arts. Summon Brick hurls your whole body in an arc forward with a big old brick, slamming downwards. If you hold up and use it, you fly up way higher, 8-second cooldown. Summon Spiked Bat slams a bat down every time you click the skill, up to 3 times. Each subsequent hit does more damage, and the final hit debuffs enemies with a debuff that reduces their attack by 20%. If you hold left or right while using it, you'll move in that direction, and can even use it back and forth or completely in place if you so desired, 12-second cooldown. To end off fourth, Chain Art skills. Rain of Chains is a hold down skill, giving you a 2-second iframe at the start, and then sucking in nearby enemies and dealing damage to everything within its range. You can move left or right while using the skill, but you can't jump at all. 6-second duration, 45-second cooldown. Last but not least, Beatdown is your class bind that does more damage depending on how many activations of muscle memory you get within a 5-second window after casting Beatdown. The duration doesn't go up, but the damage does when you hit muscle memory thresholds of either 3 or 5. If you don't build up any stacks, it still does damage, casting Strike and hitting enemies a few times. 2-minute cooldown. Hyper skills give you a couple major buffs and one okay-ish buff. First, Chain Art's Crush damages enemies around you and gives you max muscle and memory stacks for 15 seconds if it does hit enemies, 30-second cooldown. Shadow Dealer's Elixir is kinda like Epic Adventure, except it only works for you. 10% extra damage and crit rate, 1 minute uptime, 2 minute cooldown. Your third hyper, Veteran Shadow Dealer, doubles the effects of muscle memory for 30 seconds and makes enemies explode whenever you hit them with any attacks, 3 minute cooldown. For hyper passives, starting with Chainless Arts, you want Reinforce for extra damage and Boss Rush for extra boss damage. Crit rate isn't really needed as you'll hit the crit rate cap very comfortably, more on that later. Next, Chain Art's Thrash. Reinforce for extra damage, as it's a skill you'll be weaving in between your weapon arts attacks, and Linked Attack Reinforce for extra final damage every time you use another attack directly after Thrash. Spread isn't really necessary as you'll be mobbing more with weapon arts while grinding. Lastly, Chain Art's Beatdown. Reinforce and Shockwave Reinforce aren't all that necessary since you're not going to be using your Class Bind as an attack. However, since there's not much options for your last hyper point, Cooldown Cutter is pretty decent, cutting its cooldown by 20%. Anyways, 5th job's pretty cool. Let's start off with Chain Art's Maelstrom. You can place it down by either using Thrash twice and then click down and Thrash again, or by clicking Thrash and then down plus whatever key you put Maelstrom on. Once down, it summons a storm of chains flailing about in one area for 6 seconds, debuffing enemies with a slow and dealing damage to everything inside. No cooldown and it lasts for 8 seconds. Chain Art's Void Strike makes your entire background all purpley and red, and smites nearby enemies with giant chains that come from everywhere when you attack, with a 0.6 second cooldown in between chains. It attacks for 51 seconds, going up to 60 seconds at max level, and has a 3.5 minute cooldown, going down to 3 minutes at max level. You can also right-click the skill to stop the background from turning gray. Apocalypse Cannon is a summon that places a cannon down in one location, gathering energy for 10 seconds, and then shooting a big ball forward, damaging everything in its path. The charge up damages enemies that touch it too. It also mentions something about amassing energy 38 times and decreasing the duration if it's not fully amassed, but asking the Cadena Discord, me and them can't find any difference between when it shoots its ball, no matter what we do, so I don't think that part matters much at all. 25-second cooldown. Muscle Memory Finale is a passive that builds up 1 charge every 11 seconds, up to 3 charges, and upgrades your Muscle Memory's attack into a much bigger, harder hitting attack every 4 normal Muscle Memory attacks. The preparation time reduces by 2 seconds every time you land an attack with all your Chain Art skills that aren't Thrash and Pursuit. So Crush, Rain of Chains, and Beatdown. It also reduces by 1 second per Void Strike hit, which is really nice due to Void Strike being out for a long time and hitting often. Alright, so shared nodes, starting with Nova shared nodes. Grandest Goddess's Blessing builds up 1 charge every 4 minutes, up to 2 charges. When used, it gives a bit of damage for 40 seconds, as well as gives a chance to reset cooldowns for your non-5th job and hyper skills. So all your weapon art skills. Might of the Nova simply does a big explosion above you, and gives you an extra life for about 10 minutes at level 1, going up to 16 minutes at max level, 20 minute cooldown. Ending off the last of your skills with Shared Thief nodes, starting with Last Resort. Clicking it once puts you in Stage 1, which reduces your avoidability, but increases your final damage and damage taken for 30 seconds. Clicking it again puts you in Stage 2, halving the duration from whenever you clicked it, and bringing your avoidability down to 90%, but tripling the final damage and damage taken given by this skill. Clicking it a 3rd time cancels the effect entirely, and puts it on cooldown. Right-clicking the skill makes it go to Stage 2 instantly when clicked once. 90-second cooldown, going down to 75 seconds at max level. And finally, time for the regularly scheduled smack talk of Venom Burst. Wait, it's actually useful for Cadena? Okay, so Venom Burst has some use because of how debuffs work for Cadena, via cheap shot stacking debuffs and getting more damage. The skill itself is kinda whatever, just consuming your damage over time stacks and dealing a little damage when used. What's important to Cadena is its passive, which gives another debuff with all your attacks, poisoning enemies. The active part of Venom Burst has a cooldown of 8 seconds, but the dot passive has no cooldown. Cadena has a lot going on the surface, but I think I can boil them down to a simplified science. So let's make them easy. since you have a lot of weapon art skills that move you around, it helps to learn and memorize the distances each one goes in case you need to move out of a boss's AoE, area of effect. In addition, Scimitar can teleport you past Lotus lasers when used in the air. Remember, the more you swap between weapon arts, the longer you can maintain your muscle memory's buff and stacks, with each stack giving you final damage and a shield that keeps refreshing with every new muscle memory stack. The only other defenses Cadena gets outside of this shield are Pursuit's short stealth period when it connects with a platform or enemy, and Rain of Chains. Thankfully, you don't need to hold Rain of Chains to get its iframe. Just tap and you're safe for a couple seconds every time it's off cooldown. For grinding, simply place down your Maelstrom occasionally, and other map summons like Urda Fountain or Will Skill if you have those, and just keep jumping around using Thrash and whatever weapon art skills whenever you need some extra movement, or to maintain muscle memory stacks if you need some more damage. You could even cast Void Strike for more map coverage whenever that comes off cooldown. No need to combo while grinding, thankfully. For bossing, however, you will need to combo to get the most out of this class. If you're just grinding up to get the Link skill or the level 200 Legion block, you can get by fine enough without worrying about all that, but if you plan on bossing, comboing is imperative. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Cadena is one of the highest input characters in the game, due to how their combos are super reliant on swapping between all their weapon arts frequently for more damage via muscle memory. It gets scarier for most people once you factor in Thrash and Pursuit, as you can cancel with both of those too. Thankfully, it really isn't as bad or horrifying as some want to make it out to be. Try not to see Cadena combos as scary or painful. Look, see? They won't bite. Let's explain Thrash first. As I said back in first job, it has two parts to it, and both parts do damage, but its first part also cancels a lot of animations, as well as gives extra damage for linking attacks after it. Namely, all your weapon art skills with cooldowns, aka any skill with summon in its title. There's a certain rhythm and timing to pressing it, so it's not immediately press Thrash and then another skill. It's something you have to get the hang of, but it's about a quarter of a second in between clicks or so, maybe slightly faster. Thankfully, the timing is pretty lenient, so you can go slightly faster than that too if you prefer. Next, Pursuit. It stealths you and gives you the option to latch onto platforms at a 45-degree angle, but it also cancels the momentum of skills that move you from your starting location. Just completely stops them mid-movement. Both of these skills are important to keep in mind for all your main combos, to both make the combos go faster, get more damage, and string together more attacks. You can even combo Thrash and Pursuit into each other, and squeeze a skill in between either for practice, or for a short, simpler combo. With those two explained, let's start with the most common combos. Thrash, Shuriken, Thrash again, into 3 spiked bats. This is the most important one to learn, as each hit of the Shuriken spliced in between the spiked bats procs the weapon switching a muscle memory, refreshing your stacks on medium to larger sized bosses. That and spiked bats damage is just really good. Up next, my personal favorite one to practice to get the hang and feel of all other Cadena combos. Thrash, Daggers, Thrash, Decoy Bomb. If you get the timing of this one right, the Daggers puts you mid-air, and using Decoy Bomb while mid-air keeps you in place. Ideally, to keep your damage consistent, you'll want to prioritize staying in place or near or on the boss with all your damage. You can intentionally use skills that move you to keep up with the boss or to dodge some of their attacks and such, but most of the time you'll want to stay in place. Now, the one that moves you around but with practice can keep you roughly in the same spot you started. Thrash, either Shotgun or Decoy Bomb for the knockback, Thrash again, Brick. If you're high enough in the air, you can also toss in a Claw after Brick for more damage. The timing of this one is a little different, as Shotgun has a slight delay before sending you back, and if you add in a Claw at the end, the timing gets a little weirder too. I prefer Decoy into Brick here because the timing's a lot more lenient, and Decoy sends you further up without a delay, letting you also get Claw off much easier too. That and their cooldowns just line up much better. You could also simplify this combo by removing Brick and just have it be Thrash, Shotgun, or Decoy Bomb, and Claw instead. Here's a couple things to take note of with Claw. Firstly, making your keyboard's repeat delay and rate within Windows' keyboard properties to the highest, as well as holding Claw until it casts, helps Claw come out much faster and more consistently. Secondly, the Cadena Discord's guide mentions you don't need to use Thrash before Claw in a combo, due to how hard it is to get consistently. I believe this is the only weapon art skill that doesn't benefit from a Thrash used beforehand. Lastly, let's show off a Pursuit combo. Thrash, Scimitar, Pursuit. Normally Scimitar sends you rushing forward, but timed right, Pursuit will reduce that movement or outright stop it entirely. You could also replace Scimitar with Shotgun, Decoy Bomb, or Brick too. There's loads of different combo strings you can do with both Thrash and Pursuit, but these few are fairly simple, and getting at least 2 of them down will help you get much more comfortable with dishing out damage. Remember, it's not based on how fast you can click. Cadena benefits most from proper timing. There's no real right answer to Cadena combos. Feel free to string together any attacks you feel work best for you, just so long as you keep swapping between your weapons to maintain your muscle memory stacks. I myself admittedly am not the best at these more intricate, longer combos, so I'll leave a few links in the description for videos that helped me practice and understand Cadena combos a bit better. They're also just better Cadena players in general. Cooldown hats are semi-important for Cadena because, have you seen their weapon art skills? Minus 4 seconds on a non-moving target is ideal, more so if you can also get stat lines on it. But even just a minus 2 second hat with some stat is good enough for most people that just want their Cadena as a boss mule or secondary main. The reduced cooldowns help with flowing more combos together quicker, and can also lead to more uses of things like Spiked Bat repeatedly, even more so if you have cooldown skip in some form. Cooldown hats, however, don't help with animation canceling, just reducing the downtime in between all your weapon arts. Link skills are just about the same as every other class. For grinding, the usual XP boosting links like Evan, Aran, and Mercedes, and Lara for extra normal enemy damage. Then just fill in the rest of your slots with any damage links you have or think would be best. Something like this should be good enough. For bossing, prioritize the damage links while also including Explorer Mage for the debuff. Explorer Thief is a nice one to get too, as Cadena benefits from more stacking debuffs, and AB Link is just good on everybody now for when they do get their big burst. A setup looking something like this. As always, Resistance Link helps a lot if you wanted an extra 8 seconds of invincibility every time you revive in a boss fight. Inner ability is fairly simple. You'll want cooldown skip for the first line, and then boss and abnormal status damage for the second and third lines. Cooldown skip is to have more uses of your weapon art skills, namely Spiked Bat, but any of the ones with cooldowns, so you can get even more combos off. It can also reset AB Link's cooldown, which is huge. Abnormal status is here because you'll be debuffing enemies constantly with multiple debuffs, and boss damage because Cadena is more focused towards bossing. For settles, and or if you wanted a preset for grinding, the usual drop in Meso, and maybe normal monster damage or flat attack for the last line. Cadena doesn't need to worry about crit rate too much beyond having at minimum 88%, because of Cheap Shot giving 2% crit rate per debuff on the boss up to 10 stacks, and Cadena can place up to 6 on enemies. Having a bit more crit rate around 92% or higher is ideal, because it's harder to maintain all your debuffs on the boss constantly, especially playing solo. Attack speed isn't that important either, since it doesn't change too much for Cadena outside of some attack animations being faster, or the timing of combos, and Cadena already reaches the attack speed cap with Monster Park Green Potion and decent speed infusion anyways. Trinodes for Cadena are super easy. Get all of them. You'll be using everything in your kit for everything you do anyways, and there isn't one set perfect Trinode to get, beyond prioritizing maxing out the node that boosts Chain Art's Thrash, Muscle Memory, and Chain Art's Rain of Chains all at the same time. That and Spiked Bat, because you'll be using that often in bossing. Since you'll want all of them, and Cadena only has 8 nodes, that means across 6 Trinodes, there will be 2 skills that get boosted more. Fill those slots with whatever else you want, usually whatever skill you want to max out first. For Burst/BA, start off with popping your non-cooldown buffs, making sure they're up, and then pop Chain Art's Crush to get your muscle memory up to max stacks. Afterwards, pop all your non-cooldown buffs like Void Strike, Shadow Dealer's Elixir, Will Skill if you have that, AB Link, Grandest Goddess's Blessing, Veteran Shadow Dealer, and Last Resort. Then, just simply place down Apocalypse Cannon. You could also place down Maelstrom here if you wished, and then combo with whatever combos you see fit. As the Cadena Discord's guide says, go crazy. Start lashing out with everything you got, with whatever you're most comfortable doing. Optimally, you'd want to use Shuriken and Spiked Bat 3 times when they're both off cooldown, but in the downtime, keep using everything else you got. That's it, really. As long as you're switching between your weapons to maintain your muscle memory stacks, and you keep hitting the boss, you're golden. There's not even that much to shorten down, but let's throw the text on screen regardless. Buffs, Chain Art's Crush and Void Strike, Shadow Dealer's Elixir, Will Skill, AB Link, Grandest Goddess's Blessing, Veteran Shadow Dealer, Last Resort, Apocalypse Cannon, Shuriken and Spiked Bat ×3 combo, and then go crazy. Much like all other combo classes, once you get the hang of a handful of combos, you don't need to remember too much after that point. While Cadena is usually seen as one of the toughest classes in this game to both learn and practice, I still really enjoy how they play, and the whole idea of a class that swaps between all their skills smoothly. They definitely aren't for everyone, but if you sacrifice a little bit of time to get a few of their main timings down, they really aren't that bad or scary. Personally, I kinda want to pick mine up sometime in the future as a boss mule. Thanks to the Cadena Discord for having an amazing guide with resources and explanations for Cadena's combo strings, and thank you for watching. If there's another class you want to see me cover next, let me know which one down in the comments. If you just like my guides or like having me on as background noise going over MapleStory classes, consider subscribing to the channel. With this guide's release, there's only one more Nova class for me to cover, Angelic Buster. They probably won't be next unless y'all really want me to make a guide for them right this second, but that will definitely come in the future. I have ideas for the next guide, but hey, you might influence my decision for what comes next. That's all.